Welcome to the final week of the season. As Billings and Oswego don't have anybody going to the conference championships, we're going to quickly go over the conference championship week, looking at the teams here, especially these first two games, which are promotion games for each conference in their tier levels. And then you've got the four games underneath, which are the tier 1 conference championship games there. So looking first at the Sun Belt game, UAB is going to take the win on this one, winning in the last minute of the game as they take down a very solid Toledo team to advance into Tier 2 and into the American Conference, which means that Virginia is going to be the team that is relegated out of Tier 2, and Eastern Michigan is going to survive this year. And then looking at the Conference USA's promotion game, we will see who's going to win this one, and Boise State is going to be the team that takes away this one with 21 points in the fourth quarter, 21 unanswered points to take the win from Louisiana, which means that Boise State is going to be the team moving up into Tier 2, sending Air Force down to the Conference USA. What a turnaround for Billings in this one, as they would have been relegated if they had not won those two games. So now looking at the Tier 1 conferences, we've got the SEC first, and Alabama, as you would expect, wins this one much closer than you would think it would, even though Alabama was the better team in this game, and they had the game pretty much handled going into this last little bit. So now looking at the Pac-12's game, and Oregon is going to beat USC, giving USC their only loss on the year, which means that Oregon will now be playing for the national championship game. What a turnaround, and USC is going to probably be left out in the dust. And we will see if Ohio State can pull it off, and they will. Ohio State is going to beat their rivals pretty handedly and take themselves into the national championship to play Oregon. The first big blowout in this conference championship week shows up in this one. And looking at the last game of the week in the Big 12, Texas is going to pull it off with a last-second field goal from Burt Auburn to take the win over their rivals. So now we're going to go over pretty quickly these Heisman Trophy winners, as you can see up there on the screen right now, and then the award winners and the All-American winners and the season stats leaders on the year. While these are showing, kind of quickly gloss over the Oswego and Billings season and kind of talk about where we're looking to really improve. Obviously, Oswego, starting with them, they just need to improve in general. It was going to be a tough season this year, and it definitely was a very difficult season. There were some high points and there were some very low points in the season, but with the team full of walk-ons and the injuries on the offensive side of the ball that we ran into, it was just going to be a really tough sledding season for Oswego. For Billings, our offense really struggled early. We were not able to really hold on to the ball all year, but on the defensive side of the ball, they really kept us in games when we really struggled on offense. I think that on offense, we took us a long time to really figure out where we were really good on that offensive side of the ball. And once we started to really figure it out there at the end of the year, a guy like Dallas DeLoach, who's a freshman All-American at the middle linebacker position, as well deserved, is just one of those where they really had to do the heavy lifting on that side of the ball to try and keep us in the games. We didn't really create a whole bunch of pass rush on the defense. We didn't really get a lot of we didn't really get a lot of like pass coverage and just like really good defense, and that's a side effect of knowing of being a brand new team to a brand new system in that 3-3-5, to try and figure it out. I think that we are going to be figuring things out on that 3-3-5. We've got some pretty good defensive recruits coming in, especially the safety from Montana. That was a big time pickup for us. So we should improve just a little bit going into this next season. I think that we figured out what works on our offensive side and starting to figure out what we really need to work on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I think that moving forward, we are going to be really figuring out and really improving on this Billings season as we go into this next one. So looking at these bowl games here are where all of the teams have slotted to play in the bowl games. We're going to get down here to the bottom to those BCS bowl games and see who is going to be facing who. We pretty much already know who's going to face who. Boise State, winner of the Conference USA, they're going to go take on Western Kentucky. Big game for them. Rose Bowl is going to get Tennessee is going to pick up that spot, and Texas, they'll play Texas. Joplin and Farmington will be facing each other, those Tier 2 champions. Georgia Tech and Purdue, and USC is going to fall out, and they're going to go play Alabama in that Orange Bowl. A little bit of a mix-up there from the game, I would say there. So then we've got Oregon and Ohio State to round us all off in the national championship game. So quickly going over that and now looking at the results from each of the games that we've got. Louisiana not fulfilling their end of the deal, losing to Washington State on that one. Quickly going over all the games. Texas is going to get their win over Tennessee, and Joplin is going to beat Farmington. That's a big win for Joplin. They are a very high-powered offensive team, so you would expect that. Purdue getting the win over Georgia Tech, and Alabama getting the win over USC, and Ohio State finishing it off and beating Oregon. So now we're going to look and see in a picture form of all of the promotion and relegation that is going to happen this year. And we're going to do this based off of the regions, and we're just going to go down the line. So we're going to look at the West region, and their champion is going to be Oregon this year. Not going to be able to pull off the victory against Ohio State in the BCS championship game, but they did beat the only undefeated team going into conference championship week, USC, to take the West champion spot. And now the team that is going to be relegated is going to be Stanford, and they are going to slot themselves into the Mountain West, and Farmington are going to find themselves into the Pac-12, earning that spot from Tier 2. And now, because Boise State beat Louisiana in the conference championship game, Boise State is going to move up into Tier 2, into the Mountain West, which means that Air Force is going to move down into that Conference USA West division. So now looking at the Central region, Texas is going to be the Big 12 and Central champion this year after they beat Oklahoma in that conference championship game. And Nebraska is going to be the team that is going to be relegated out of the Big 12, moving to Tier 2 into the Big 10 conference, the very stacked Big 10 conference. That is going to be a challenge for them if it wasn't already a challenge for them in the Big 12. And the team that is going to be promoted out of the Tier 2 and the Big 10 is going to be Joplin, moving into the Big 12 conference and into Tier 1. And because Louisiana lost to Boise State in the Conference USA Conference Championship game, Tulane is going to survive in Tier 2 and stay there. And Louisiana is going to have to stay in Tier 3 as well. Now moving into that Southeast region with SEC, American, and Sun Belt, Alabama is going to be the Southeast champion after they beat North Carolina in that conference championship game. NC State is going to be the team that is going to be relegated out of the Tier 1 conference and into the Tier 2 American Conference, where Georgia Tech, the sole winners of the American Conference, will move into Tier 1, and with UAB winning the Sun Belt Championship over Toledo, that means that Virginia is going to be the team that is relegated out of Tier 2 and into Tier 3 and the Sun Belt, and UAB will move into the American Conference. And on top of that, Old Dominion was the team that found themselves at the bottom of the Sun Belt Southeast Division, and the Tier 4 Independence champion was South Alabama, hailing from that Southeast region, which means Old Dominion will now move into Tier 4, while South Alabama finds themselves up into Tier 3. And now looking at the Northeast region with the ACC and the MAC and the Sun Belt, Ohio State was the champion of the Northeast, and on top of that, they were the champion of the NCAA this year, beating Oregon in the BCS National Championship game and earning their right to be at the top of the Northeast. Northwestern found themselves at the bottom of the ACC, which means that they will be relegated into Tier 2, while Purdue finds themselves into the ACC after they bulldozed through the competition in the MAC. And because Toledo lost to UAB, that means Eastern Michigan is going to survive after doing everything they could, winning their last 2 games of the season, to stay in Tier 2, which then means Toledo is also going to find themselves stuck at that Tier 3 position. So that is how promotion and relegation is going to go for this season. The off seasons for Billings and Oswego will be coming. Those will take some time because the off seasons are so long. But that will do it for this year's promotion and relegation. And I look forward to seeing what next year will bring. Hopefully, Oswego will have some life in them with their new recruits and scholarship players. And Billings really carries this momentum from this year into the next year. If you've enjoyed it so far, it would be awesome if you subscribed if you've enjoyed it, and leaving likes on the videos. That would be the biggest help for this series if you are enjoying it, so that it is reached to as many people as possible. Again, thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video, and we will see you in the off season.